Hello, everyone, and welcome. Yes, my name is Arrowfire, and welcome to a special episode of All Talk No Shock, where we are doing a yearly video of a TFNation hype video. I've left it a bit late this year, but only being about 9 days away or so. But I am joined by C4 Darkmane. Drew, say hello.
Hi.
Drew has got a very interesting special announcement, which he has agreed to reveal exclusively with this video that's going to be appearing at TFNation. But before we get into that, what is the premise of this video? So back into my first TFNation, I was a bit nervous of appearing, didn't know what to expect. And it was jolly old Chris McFeely doing his basics, doing the basics of TFNation that gave me a bit of a walkthrough as to what to expect. And as that's been a few years now, 2018 by my reckoning, I want to do something similar as time has moved on. So let me show you what you can expect to find at TFNation 2024. So if this is your first time going to the Hilton Metropole in Birmingham, you walk in and you come straight into the foyer section. You'll have the reception on your right if you want to check in and stay at the hotel, should you be doing so. You also then immediately have the bar on your left where you will see everyone. It's kind of the main congregation area. So whilst you can go and check into your hotel, depending at the time that you arrive, and you can go and socialize, you can also register at TFNation. And in previous years, this has been just outside the King Suite, where you can go and get your labels showing what level of pass you have got, and that will be you registered for all events and panels for the weekend. And whilst lots of people will stay in the bar area, mostly mingle there as you can get food and drink, and if you're staying, you are directly below where the rooms are. If you wanted to take a break at any point, if you feel that the stay of the weekend is a bit too much, there is Resort World just across the other side of the complex. And this has been a fairly recent addition to the area. There's things like other restaurants, there's shops. And if you just want to get away and see something different, it's a good place to just go and unwind. And I found it quite useful, particularly for trying to get something for dinner. Although I will say, if you want to just stay in a hotel and not necessarily order hotel food, Deliveroo will deliver to the hotel. I have done that before. And then we come on to the scheduling. Now, scheduling has now been released by TFNation, and as always, it is subject to change, but it's really all going to kick off by about 11:30 in the morning on the Friday. A Friday always comes across as a little bit thinner. The majority of people tend to turn up on Saturday anyway, but you have a series of events going out through the day, such as Robeson, meeting some of the wonderful cast and guests that are going to be there for the duration of the weekend. Triple Takeover will do their usual panel at 5 o'clock in the evening. Then there's a break and going into the movie night, which we are led to believe could be the 1986 movie, but we will wait and see. They always keep that one pretty close to the chest. So there's enough things going on there to kind of ease you into the weekend. And I do recommend, if you can, going to some of the panels, although Friday does tend to be the socializing day. For me, when lockdown restrictions were lifted and we were able to do conventions again, the Friday night, the first TFNation back, which I think was 2022, was a good place to just meet and enjoy and just talk to people again. So that's a good place to kind of mingle and get the social greetings out the way, meeting up with people that you maybe haven't seen before. But I do recommend that you check out some panels as well. But before the Saturday event starts, this is why I've got Drew here today. This is why C4 Darkmane is here. Drew, do tell everyone what you may or may not, subject to change, be up to on Friday night in the bar.
Friday in the bar, I'm very much hoping to have at least one of the games. There's not going to be space for me as much as I'll have on the Saturday, so I'm hoping to bring, I don't know which one yet, but hoping to bring one for everyone to join in with on the Friday evening. I'll be probably about, if I am there, I will be around for about 5 hours throughout a certain period. Again, subject to change, and I don't know when I'm going to be allowed in.
But talking of the games, though, that you mentioned, is going to be either Robo Rally, potentially, or
Yes, Transformers deck building game.
okay. And that's, do you want to just give a little introduction? I was going to say how predominantly you're going to be stationed on Saturday to go through these games as well. There's a chance it could be on Friday, but do you
Yeah,
want
there
to
is.
just go a quick run through as to what these two games are to the best of your knowledge?
So Robo Rally is a game originally invented by Richard Garfield of Magic the Gathering fame back in the 1990s, I believe 1994 actually. And that has been brought back so many times. It's now being reskinned and rejigged for Transformers. And you will get to play one of 6 robots, each with their own upgrades that give them unique advantages and identities. Players can convert between bot and alt mode to better navigate the many roads and buildings and obstacles that make up each race. The game features 4 double-sided game boards representing the city and desert landscapes of Velocitron.
Ooh.
And so basically the robots will be trying to go through a little obstacle course. It's, from looking at it, because I haven't played it before, well, I haven't played it for a very long time, rather, it's a little bit Micro Machine-y in terms of the old Sega games that you might have played back in the 90s, but as a board game. The maps have features on them that you might go over, and then you'll be forced to interact with them in a certain way. You've got several checkpoints to get through in order to complete the game.
It's an A to B from all sounds of it, isn't it? And if it's relating to Magic the Gathering, I think there's going to be a few people at TFNation who are quite familiar, Alexis being one of them, of the varieties towards Transformers. So that could go down quite well with some people, particularly when they know it is related.
Then we have Transformers the Deck Builder. This is a game self-contained as opposed to traditional collectible card games where you buy boosters. This is for 1 to 5 players. It usually takes about 45 minutes to 90 minutes to play a game. You take on the role of one of the mighty Autobots and travel and explore the Matrix and transform between your different modes as you gain abilities. You find relics and acquire technology to do battle with the Decepticons. But be warned, your deck grows and more powerful Decepticons will rise up to challenge you. Although I'll only be demoing the base set, this deck building system covers G.I. Joe, Power Rangers, My Little Pony, if that's your thing as well. They can all mix and match and interact. Also on Saturday, I'll have the D20 Essence System Transformers roleplay book. Now, I won't be offering any particular adventures in it, but I'll be there to talk about it, and people can have a read through it. And again, with that system, the D20 Essence System covers Power Rangers, G.I. Joe, and My Little Pony, with books and supplements to allow them to interact with each other if you've ever wanted to go on a quest with Optimus Prime, Pinkie Pie, and the Red Ranger, and Duke, so you can.
It's worth pointing out at this point, isn't it, that you are representing this on behalf of Renegade Game Studios, of course, who have the license to operate these kind of games. Why not necessarily own a license for Transformers and all the rest of it, but have license for the game side of it, which is what you're representing throughout the weekend. Now, just to go in at this point, with Friday may or may not happening, you are particularly going to be stationed on Saturday, as we have since worked out.
And Sunday.
Oh, and Sunday. I do apologise. You're going to be down in the Warwick Suite. So for those who are familiar, that was once the Forge, or the Gundown Wing, which I thought was a great name for it. That's just the long room where the queue for the Trader Hall can snake through in and out at the very eastmost part of it as you're looking from a top-down map. But it's not too bad for where Drew is going to be, because if you're at the Trader Hall, if you're in the queue, God knows it's a long queue, potentially Drew could be sitting there to captivate your time with a great salesman pitch that he can do. Being a dungeon master for Dungeons and Dragons, I can see this being right up your street, which is good because, I mean, don't get me wrong, the bar at TFNation is great. It's a very welcoming experience. We say it time and time again. TFNation has a very good welcoming atmosphere, but you can find that it's more or less the same thing, just in little groups dotted around the bar. If, for example, this year, you are going to be there, it offers something a little bit different. It offers kind of a center of entertainment, which could be quite good and gives people a reason to come over quickly to that point. I hope that does come to pass, because what can quite often be a trend with TFNation, and I'm sure other conventions as well, you just see someone walking around with a Transformer and it's a conversation starter, and all of a sudden a little group forms. So I'm very much hoping that you can be that conversation starter.
Yeah, I'll be available to big groups or just getting people that never met each other before into the games. As I said, they're all multiplayer games, and so we can get loads of people around them. Robot Rally, which I missed out, can go up to about 6 players.
So with Friday out of the way, and whether or not you happen to see Drew in the bar area, that will then lead on to Saturday morning. Now, Saturday morning, obviously, as with every morning, needs to start with a good hearty breakfast, and Hilton has you covered. Particularly if you stay in the hotel, it's just very easy to come down. I do recommend you get there fairly early. Whilst it can be very counterproductive to the schedule and everyone's working to the same schedule for the events of the day, wanting to get the early access to the trader hall, wanting to make the opening ceremony, or just wanting to ease into the day, more or less everyone's doing the same thing. So it's somewhat earlier, the better. Do find out what the time the breakfast is going to be starting from, whether it's 6, 6:30 or 7, and then try and get yourself down there and get some breakfast to fuel you for the day. Now, I would like to think that if you don't have a reservation in the Hilton, that you should be able to just walk up and get a breakfast and pay for it yourself there and then as well. But that will then lead into the Saturday's plans of festivities, and that's when arguably TFNation really shines. The scheduling is looking much more packed. The opening ceremonies, they are very, very good fun. There is a slight clash with attending the opening ceremony, which starts at 9, finishes around 9:30, and then there's early access for the trader hall. If you have got an early access ticket, you somewhat have to sacrifice one for the other, or you attend a full opening ceremony, which is so good to see. I've seen them before. They're really good fun. You do run the risk of being at the back of the early access queue. That's just one thing to factor in. But again, the opening ceremonies, particularly if you haven't been to a TFNation before, are really worth seeing. But then, of course, you go into the general access, and that more or less takes us up to 11 o'clock, where we will get the first interview with David Kay from Beast Wars. That's a panel that I'm particularly looking forward to seeing, and more panels throughout the day, such as the likes of Simon Furman as well. There is going to be a break later on, and it goes into the evening's entertainment on the Saturday, and that's when you start to head towards the likes of Club Con. Now, you do get the cosplaying at TFNation, and that has led to some brilliant moments over the years, the likes of Thunderclash and Starscream dancing on stage. There's some brilliant costumes that you see. It's worth seeing it just to see the effort that people put in. So good. And a winner is crowned come the end of it. You also then go into the Matrix test, Chris McFeely quiz. If you've attended one before, you'll know what I mean. If you haven't, you may know it through reputation. Chris is a historian of Transformers. And believe me, if you can think of the most obscure thing in Transformers, he will have a more obscure question for you. I can only prepare you so much. You can attend it thinking you've got a chance, and my God, it's aneurysm inducing. But all in good fun. A charity auction after that. I attended that last year just to sort of watch it go on. There was some really good stuff. And again, as it says, it's all for charity. Watching some really rare pieces of Transformers memorabilia being bidded on. It's quite fun to be a part of, which I nearly accidentally bidded on last year as I was trying to wave someone over, as the price was going quite high. So be very careful with your arm movements if you happen to be watching that. There is a script reading towards the end, and then there is a surprise from TFNation, and finishing off the evening's entertainment with much more than meets the eye. And that then leads into Sunday. Sunday is very much, you do get a sense of Sunday blues. The trader hall is still open, and there is a scheduling of events as well, but the convention is starting to wind down. But there is some nice panels on throughout the day. Lost Plots with James Roberts going through some of the forgotten IDW stories that never came to pass rather than forgotten. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And it's just very much an introduction with the likes of Greg Berger, Toys and Traders. There's more to be found from the likes of David Kay. And it's kind of closing off your weekend that you maybe didn't indulge all of on a Saturday. It's really good to see. It is quite a padded out event, which I do like. You got the likes of all of the guests making multiple visits. And if you happen to be in the bar, in the trader hall, elsewhere, taking a break, and you wanted to see someone, Sunday gives you a chance to do so again. Drew, of course, you will be there again back in the King Suite, aren't you? Or should I say the Warwick Suite?
Indeed, sir.
Oh,
and
excellent.
then to cover my lunches, I will have none other than Mr. Richard Delafield, aka Bisto Yeti. He knows more about Robo Rally than me.
Oh, excellent. I was going to say, to cover your lunches. I thought you, I thought you meant like Bisto was going to be bringing you lunch.
No, I mean he can bring me my
Well,
lunch
that'd be very
before I
nice of
go
him,
off as
wouldn't
well.
it?
But yeah, it would
Yeah.
be very nice of him. But no,
Well, that doesn't surprise me in the least, knowing Bisto. I can think of no better stand-in than our good old Bisto lad to do just that. But that's going to lead into the closing ceremony. Now, I'm actually ashamed to say I've never made a closing ceremony. I've always had to kind of find it being posted up online afterwards, and I always feel that's a real shame because you get a lot of insight as to how the convention's gone. You find out how it's gone on through the days, as to the attendance figures, who's come through the door, and what the plans are going to be for the following year, if indeed there are, and there's normally something. But this year, I'm actually staying the Sunday night. I would always kind of get on the road early and get back home, but I'm actually going to sit through and watch all of it start to finish. So I'm actually looking forward to that, and hopefully doing a bit of Q&A with the likes of Billy Stripes, Dave Wallace, and others of the TFNation crew to see what else they've got planned. But do try and enjoy it. If this is your first TFNation, it can seem a lot because it's Europe's biggest Transformers convention, but I cannot stress this enough, and I sound like a broken record for doing so. It has such a welcoming vibe. There's places that you can just go and relax. There's people you can meet, friends you can make. It has that right separation of being big, vast, and inclusive, but at the same time, somewhere to just go and relax should you want to. And that is the inclusion for all, and that's got to be the end goal. I cannot recommend it enough. The Trader Hall is great. There's some real gems there. If you go there with a list in mind of what you want to get, a shopping list, or if you just want to say, see what takes my fancy, you've got the likes of Primetime Toys, Kapow, In Demand, Toyfu, and many, many others that I have purchased from throughout the years. The cosplay is great fun. There's some real heartwarming moments that have happened through the years that you may or may not have seen online. I'm sure this year won't be any exception. Drew, quick question to you then. I know this will be your first TFNation, but
yes.
Is there anything that you're particularly looking forward to in this particular TFNation? Obviously, you'll be working, so it'll be a case of what you can and can't be getting away from. But is there anything that is particularly catching your eye for the event?
Depending on when I get my lunch break, I do quite like the idea of the much more than meets the eye. But I don't think I'd get covered at that point. What else is there? The Lost Plots as well on Sunday. That tickles my fancy.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that as well, because you think of a long run that IDW had with James Roberts and others, that there's got to be many things on the cutting room floor that you can hear. And I bumped into James Roberts and had sort of chats with him, and it kind of alluded there's a lot of things that they discussed and thought of and thought better of, second guessed, and all these things that could have been would be very interesting to hear. I mean, we've had unreleased scripts or first drafts of the 1986 movie before. There's some real hidden stuff out there that would be really great to see, really great to watch. For me, it's going to be, I'm going to really looking forward to the David Kay interviews. Seeing Greg Berger, he's such good fun to talk to, such great fun to hear his experiences and what he's got to say. Roberson, of course, going to be there as well in one form or another. So looking forward to seeing what goodies they bring. It's things like the staples, isn't it? It's the cosplay, the Matrix quiz, the things that we kind of familiarize and do. The movie nights have been a staple of TFNation. So I'm looking forward to them as much as anything else. It is but once a year, at least for the big ones. Okay, so that is a roundup for what to expect at TFNation 2024 at the Hilton Metropole in Birmingham. As I say, if this is your first time attending, please do look forward to it. Please do not be anxious. Just take it for what it is. It's a very welcoming event. My first one was a little bit nervous and edgy, but quickly settled into what has now been an annual event. And I'm really looking forward to it. And if it is your first time, hopefully there's been some elements of this video to give you a bit of an idea as to what to expect, that you're looking forward to it as well. Drew, thank you very much for joining me on this video and giving an insight as to what Renegade's going to be bringing to the convention. And thanks to you for watching. And as always, I will see you at TFNation, and I will see you on the next one.